David Costa, Renegade Aviator. Stay right there because I am going to save you some money. So listen up. Here we go. Come on out and see me and a ton of cool airshow performers at the Moses Lake Airshow, June 15th and 16th. Military and civilian, and a few surprises that you won't want to miss. Go check out the website, MosesLakeAirshow.com, and stay right here because I'm going to save you some money. Make sure you follow Renegade Aviator on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, our webpage. It's all the same, Renegade AV8R. It's down below. Take a look. Like, share, follow, and use the code Father's Day for the Moses Lake Airshow, June 15th and 16th at Grant County International Airport up in Moses Lake, Washington. It's going to be an outstanding event, and you'll see me there. I'll be performing, and I'm looking forward to meet each and every one of you. Thanks for following Moses Lake Live each week. Use the code Father's Day. Use the code because this code saves you 10% on any ticket option, even the VIP tickets, guys and gals. The best airshow experience is going to be VIP, baby. Go to MosesLakeAirshow.com. Look for tickets in the upper right corner, and on checkout, Father's Day, and you're going to save 10%. Tickets are the cheapest right now. The price goes up as we get closer, and VIP tickets are very limited. That's where I hang out. I hang out with the VIPs. Go to MosesLakeAirshow.com. And I got to get back to work. It's a tough life here as an aviator. We work really hard. It's so stressful. Looking out the window, looking at all the beautiful clouds, flying airplanes every day. I don't know how I do it. It's absolutely excruciating. The code is super easy to remember. Father's Day. Father's Day all smashed together. Use that code, save 10% on your tickets to the Moses Lake Airshow. Your dad wants you to take him to the Moses Lake Airshow. And you know what? If you can't find a father, find a mother, find a brother, find a sister from a brother from another mother. It doesn't matter. This is Dave Costa. I am the Renegade Aviator. MosesLakeAirshow.com. See ya.
Well, you can tell my video skills are lacking. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Dave Costa live and in person on Moses Lake Live here with you. We are coming up close to the air show. We are 4 minutes in already, and I've bored you long enough. I've got a great guest. Everybody wants to talk to military aviators, and I love talking to military aviators. I wanted to be a military aviator. I ended up being a Marine Corps sniper. Go figure that out. But I've got a guest for you today that you're going to love. I've got a special guest, Captain Jennifer Lucas, the U.S. Air Force C-17 West Coast demo pilot. Captain Lucas, welcome to Moses Lake Live, or welcome back, I guess.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Hey, great. Thanks for coming on. I know you've been busy, and we're winding up. We're getting really, really close, and you're coming back. So you were at Moses Lake Airshow last year, and you're back again. So thanks.
Yeah, of course. I enjoyed the energy and all the audience and everyone, and getting to thank them because Moses Lake is our aux field that we do a lot of our practice at. So any thanks that we can give, and it was just such a great time last year. I signed up for this year. So
right on. Right on. Well, and tell us about the C-17 demo. So for those people that don't know what a C-17 is, it kind of explain the aircraft, explain what you do, and kind of as you're flying that sequence, some of maybe the operational elements of that really cool big.
Yeah, of course. So obviously, huge airplane. It's great. I love flying her. She's a great time. She can go anywhere in the world, especially as long as we get some air refueling help, which you guys are going to possibly see at Moses Lake. Then we can continue to fly around the world continuously, nonstop. Um, it's a lot of fun. We can take her to any dirt landing strips or do airdrop. I'm also airdrop qualified, so we can drop people and things anywhere in the world as well. Um, Obviously, 4 engines. We can fit at least 52 people in the back, and then we can bump that up with our centerline seats, or we can take a whole bunch of, sometimes we can take a couple tanks depending on the size of the tank. I've carried helicopters around the world, so it just depends on the mission set. But I've been pretty much on every continent except South America, actually. So hopefully that'll be the next one that I can get to. But I started flying about 6 years ago, flying the jet, and have been in love with it ever since. I was at Hickam previously and now here at McCord, and got the great opportunity to join the demo team. The profile itself shows a lot of different aspects of kind of what the C-17 can do. Whenever we fly in for the first pass, it's always our high-speed pass, and we turn the throttle or get the throttles or auto throttles off and then bring them to idle to show essentially how quiet we can get. Obviously, with 4 jet engines, it's hard to actually be quiet, but she does at least calm down. That way we can do a high-speed pass for everybody. And then from there, we set up for our low-speed pass, and that's when we fully configure to get the best photo opportunities to take of the jet and of us. We attempt to wave from everybody, but we're a little bit higher up sometimes to do that. So from there, then we come back, do a 360 for another photo op, and then the big part at the very end is when we go and do an assault type landing, which allows us to land at any sort of short field across the world. It can range from 3,500 feet is our min landing distance for those. So we can land and take off within that distance, which is pretty amazing with a jet this big.
Is that loaded? So loaded with pretty decent payload?
It depends.
Yeah.
Depends on how heavy we are and if we can make that landing distance. But we train to that, and we train at Moses Lake because they have a assault strip there for us there. But the big moment is when we then stop and then we put it right into idle reverse and start backing up. Everybody loves to see the rubber band, so we love doing it. But that's definitely a special aspect to our profile instead of just the flying. But we love the flying as much as the next person, but the ground part is probably I think the fans' favorite. So
yeah, it's rare you see a plane back up,
yes.
Especially a plane that large back up.
Yep.
Very, very cool. So, I mean, to get to fly an airplane like that, so somebody goes into the Air Force, and I mean, you kind of run us through, because there's a lot of kids that come out to the air show and they ask the same question, right? How do I become a pilot? So I come from civilian ranks, and so my path is different. But somebody who would join the Air Force and become a pilot in the Air Force, what does that process look like for the average candidate?
Yeah, so at least for my experience, I did ROTC in college down at Embry-Riddle in Daytona. There's a lot of ROTC colleges across the United States, as well as obviously you have the Air Force Academy or Officer Training School as an option. But from there, as soon as you get your commission, then while you're in that program, you'll find out kind of what job you're going to lead towards. So I got selected for a pilot slot when I was a junior, and then got to commission as an officer, a second lieutenant, and then went to pilot training from there. And there's typically just 3 to 4 bases. So you have Columbus Air Force Base in Mississippi, which is where I went for pilot training. You also have Vance in Oklahoma or Laughlin in Texas, but we also have Shepherd, which does our Euro-NATO joint training at Shepherd in Wichita Falls. So those are the kind of the big 4 options. I had my private pilot's license previously, so I didn't have to go to our initial flight training, which is done in Pueblo, Colorado. So you already get to travel right off the bat to a whole bunch of different places sometimes. So
So
with
what's that aircraft with the aircraft progression? So when you go in, so yeah, so which is pretty cool because as an old guy back when we would go into the military, right? We didn't know there was no promises given, right? I mean, nobody gave, so it's pretty cool, number one, to be in school and still know you've got a pilot slot. So that's cool, number one. But how does that progression go with the aircraft that you fly? Because it's pretty rapid to go from training aircraft into a four-engine transport category jet with a stick, not a yoke, right?
Yep,
You have
exactly.
so, so so kind of walk us through that progression because it happens pretty quick, I guess, looking backwards.
It does. It does. Especially if you go to the IFT that I was talking about. You'll start with the DA-20, which is essentially just a lawnmower with wings, if you really want to talk about it. But
That's
from
scary.
there,
I'm afraid to fly
as soon as you start pilot training, you start in the T6 Texan 2, which is just a single turboprop. A lot of fun to fly. You do aerobatics and all of that stuff in there. But from there, you kind of decide or figure out what track you're going to go on. So that's the heavy or helicopters or a fighter route. So obviously I went heavy, so I ended up flying the T1 Jayhawk. And pilot training these days are a little different than when I went through. So I went straight to T1s and flew those and then got my wings. But lately they've been doing the T6 and then getting wings that way and then going to their respective heavy or fighter tracks as necessary. And then if you go
For cost, is that for cost reasons? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but is that for cost reasons? Because the Texans obviously a lot cheaper to fly probably than like a T1.
Not necessarily cost reasons. They're just trying to produce pilots because we've had a shortage for a while. So they're just trying to produce some great aviators out there. And a lot of the guys that are coming into the C-17 now are those guys that did that. So it's good to hear the two different experiences of pilot training. But from there, the T1 was essentially like a private jet that we did a lot of training on. So it wasn't made to do the training, like the touch and goes constantly and all of that with us. And then from there, you do a drop night once you finish. And that's when you get to find out what aircraft and what base you're going to first. So it's always a great celebration. You have family and friends come in. It's a big party. It's awesome. And then from there, then you'll go to training. So then I went to PIQ, which isn't done. All of our C-17 training is done in Altus, Oklahoma, which is the middle of nowhere. It's great, though. I've come to love and enjoy it because I've been there 5 times now with all my training. So and then you show up to your first duty station and you're on the road like pretty much right away. So it all happened probably within a year and a half that I was up flying around the world. So
it's amazing.
It was very quick, that's for sure.
Well, it is, I mean, as an official old guy, right? I was, I keep thinking I'm still a young guy, and then I look at myself in the camera like I'm doing now and going, holy cow, I'm an old guy now. This is crazy. But
Very, Dave.
No, I used to fly on the old C-141 Starlifters, so that's how old I am. That they were our jets, right? When they took us around the world as a bunch of jarheads in the back. But you said a couple things, and I think that's why we do air shows, right? To get people involved in aviation and get them jazzed up. You were already into being an aviator, right? So you're going to Embry-Riddle. It's an aviation school. Yep. But you said a couple things, and everybody you talk to and I talk to, how do I become a pilot? Well, you're sitting here saying for everybody, this is insider information, folks. The Air Force needs pilots. Right?
We do.
So,
yep.
So I always ask people, raise your hand and step up. I mean, if you want to be an aviator, the military is a viable route to go in, and if you want to be an airline pilot later on, flying a C-17, you're actually stepping down to go fly like a Boeing 737, right? You're going to go, I'm flying a little jet now for the airlines. So yeah, cool stuff.
I can't speak to that, but I know flying the C-17 is a blast, so I can only imagine.
That's cool. And we'd already mentioned it has a stick. So people, I don't think, realize that this huge airplane, you're expecting, as pilots, right? We're expecting the big yokes like you had. Is it fly-by-wire? Is it a whole fly-by-wire bird?
So we have redundant systems. So it's electronic first, and then we have the fly-by-wire for mechanical. But it is different flying this one with a stick instead of the yoke, and that's just to help our maneuverability that we can turn and bank that you see a lot of the times in the air show. Even we get to 45 degrees angle of bank. We don't go past that. We can go up to 60 in the event that we need to, but just it allows a lot more maneuverability with the jet. So it's essentially like being a fighter pilot, but the C-17. So
here you go. That's good. That's good. It probably has a HUD too, right? You got a HUD.
We do have a HUD.
Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
I think my air show plane would fit inside one of your engines, maybe. But
Probably. I do like making that joke to people sometimes.
So I mean, so this airplane took the role over. I mean, it's the C-5 is still in the Air Force inventory. I'm assuming. I'm assuming that's true.
Yep,
But so this took the role of the C-141. Does it kind of take some of the role of the C-130 as well, or is it more of a unique kind of a role for that aircraft?
It kind of does both the C-5 and what the C-130 does, because the C-130, all their pilots are qualified in airdrop, so we added that aspect to the C-17. And then obviously we can also do air-land missions, which is just go land somewhere, drop or pick up cargo or people and take it anywhere else in the world. So not all C-17 aircrew are qualified in airdrop. There's only certain bases that are. But everyone's qualified in air refueling once they become an aircraft.
Excellent. Well, you know, so you've got, this is a crew aircraft, obviously. So for the people that want to be in the military, they may not have the college to become a pilot immediately, or they may just not be we don't all need to be aviators. I mean, aviators are the coolest people in the world, right? We'll just tell you that. If you ask you or me, we're going to say, oh, it's cool. But there's a lot of other people that you fly as a crew. So, I have to tell everybody, even if you don't want to be a pilot for whatever reason or can't be a pilot, there's other roles in the military, especially on a plane like this. What does your crew look like on a C-17?
Yeah, so our aircrew package consists, basic is just 2 pilots and then 1 loadmaster. But then if we want to increase the amount of hours that we can fly in a day, then we'll typically go up to 3 pilots and 2 loadmasters. So shout out to all the loadmasters. I love them to death. We would not be able to fly without them. So they're aviators too in my heart. And a lot of them also have a love for flying. Which is amazing. So they get to kind of do the best of both worlds, which is really cool. So,
well, you brought up something interesting there. So I fly Gulfstream jets, and one of our ground trainers at flight safety was an Air Force boom operator, believe it or not. So here's somebody, right, that never flew, but outstanding grasp of aircraft, as you mentioned, right? You're all part of a crew, you're all part of a team. And I was amazed at the level of professionalism. Here he was, and here he is teaching people that have been flying their whole lives in Gulfstream corporate jets. And he has been one of the best ground instructors I've ever had. Right. So we all get, the pilots, right? But here's a guy that, and I think it's a testament to the Air Force and the kind of training and the level of inclusion you have with the crew. And you mentioned it. That's why I'm bringing it up, that loadmaster, you're putting your life in their hands and they're putting it's a symbiotic relationship. You can probably tell us more. I mean, you're carrying all kinds of weird cargo back there. What does that loadmaster do with all that? Kind of what's the role of that loadmaster?
So they are primarily in charge of the cargo department. So like my expertise is upstairs in the cockpit and theirs is the whole thing in the back. Like they are the expertise on all of that. So any type of cargo movement, like on or off the jet, or like if any vehicles come close to the jet or anything that has to do with the back, like they are in charge of that whole situation. So they're all super amazing professionals and can load anything in sometimes a short amount of time. Sometimes it just takes a while. But without like them and the great aerial port team, like it can take a while. It can be a big challenge, but a lot of our loadmasters are, especially I'm in the 8th, so a lot of them are just amazing professionals and get the job done without even like being asked to. Like they'll sign up. So and then
Cool.
for the air show, we always bring 1 or 2 loadmasters with us as well. Those are the guys that are waving in the back. They open up the door. So as we're backing up, they're waving to the crowd, saying hey to everybody. But we can upload either rolling stock cargo, so like big tanks or anything, or we can do like pallets and such, which is kind of what you'll see a lot of time in when we're doing airdrop. That are obviously the personnel that we carry. So
Very cool.
it's a big area for them to manage compared to my small cockpit. So.
Well, I always like to ask about landing a plane like this on an unprepared surface. Yeah, I mean, I fly tail draggers and fly in and out of grass strips and do all that, but that's on a plane much smaller, plane much lighter, right? A plane, so this aircraft is capable to land on a totally, tell me about what that unprepared field is. There like an advanced party, or you guys can just pick kind of a short field and go in, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
yeah, so we have ground support teams that have to go and survey the area and do required checks of the surface, because it can't just be anywhere, unfortunately. It can't just land on sand, because otherwise we'll just get stuck. So it's got to be more compact dirt or asphalt or anything that we can land on. So they go out, do checks for that, and then from there, then we can go in and land. But I've only done it once. It's very bumpy, and it sprays a lot of dirt everywhere, which we have like different procedures to help not suck all of that dirt into the jet and such. But it's definitely an interesting feel versus just a regular runway.
Yeah. So it could be kind of in a combat environment, right? So it could be like a forward air base where you've got maybe Corps of Engineers in there in advance. You got something there, so you can operate closer to that battlefront area is kind of what I'm envisioning that, right? So you can get heavy equipment, whether it be vehicles like you mentioned, or maybe artillery pieces or equipment or supplies closer to the front. I'm a former jarhead grunt, so we like supplies. It's good to have ammo in a firefight. It's good to have all that stuff. So when a big airplane can come in, you can have a lot more ammo, a lot more stuff and supplies. So that's really, really cool.
Yeah, I do love getting to tell people that we carry a lot of fruits and vegetables a lot of the time, especially to islands throughout the Pacific and such, because everybody needs supplies, like you mentioned. But sometimes I've heard people carrying ice cream and stuff, so I love telling like kids that, because I can fit a couple school buses in the back, but if you're carrying ice cream, like that's a pretty big deal. So
that's a big deal. That's a big deal. I like the guys taking pictures as the vehicles are sliding past them. It takes just one person
to training, so we'll have personnel on board, and then we'll go back and drop them after. And I'm still amazed when we can drop something like that big out the back. So
how does the aircraft handle center of gravity shift with that? I mean, you got a pretty long arm change there. I mean, especially those last couple coming out, right? So your CG looked like it was moving forward, and then you lose all that weight. How does the aircraft, does it handle it fairly well, or are you probably using a lot of trim, I guess, to compensate?
So Jet auto trims for me, so she does all my work for me. It's great.
It's good.
But honestly, it handles it very well. When we're dropping a big stick like you just saw, so like the 3 different heavies, obviously that's a lot of weight going out, so we can see some pitch change and maybe a little bit of airspeed change, but typically it's not much that we happen to see. When we have an operation that we can do is dual row, which is just 2 sticks going out at one time out of the back. And there is a lot more weight to that one that you can see a little bit more fluctuations with. But she'll fly it all day. So it's great.
Wow. And
The
what
jet makes it
altitude?
easy for me. So
That's cool. Yeah, no, it's it's everything is as these airplanes get designed, and there was a time, and I'm not sure even if you're aware of this. There was a time when the C-17 was fairly new. It was, man, I want to say it was around the 2008 time frame, but there was rumor that the military was trying to kind of have FedEx operate a couple of these things. I'm not sure how true that was. Oh, look at that. Ken, you're back. During training, has your guest done low altitude training such as the mock loop?
So I have not personally done the mock loop. I've known other people that have gone through like Star Wars canon in that area. But whenever we do low altitude training, we're typically flying for, especially training wise, at like 300 above ground. So that's as low as we can get, but really we want to fly higher because you never know, especially those birds out there, they'll get you.
Yeah. Very cool.
But we fly a lot of low levels around the country, through the mountains and everything, which we have a set routing through different areas, and you can find military training routes anywhere. But it allows us to fly at faster speeds and at lower altitudes without worrying about necessarily traffic. Sometimes it depends, but they're a lot of fun to train to, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's every aircraft has got its nuances, right? So, when I look back to flying something from a J3 Cub, it's fun, right? Flying I used to fly airliners as well. It's fun. They're all fun for different reasons, and that's why, you have to come out to air shows to really see this stuff because, you don't normally get to see a C-17, a plane this large, maneuvering in front of the crowd. And it gets a little bit old when you see a lot of the smaller aircraft, right? I mean, it's cool. You see a Pitts fly, that's cool. You see a little military jet that I fly, that's cool. But to see something big, I always hear people going, I never can get a good picture because it's hard to get your jet in my camera. Well, you can't miss a C-17 banking at 45 degrees in front of the crowd. Pretty cool stuff.
And like I mentioned earlier, so we use Moses Lake for a lot of our practice. It's a practice field for us that we go. They have a salt strip, and then we can do a lot of our pattern work there. I'm going to tell the audience this, just like I did last year, just a big thank you for that, because I know we wake you up in the middle of the night with some of our training, and we're there at different hours during the day. So I know I really appreciate it, and we all appreciate it, because I know not everybody loves airplane noises in the middle of the night, but I know.
It's insane.
I know. Typically, it's not the people that come out to air shows, but I still thank everybody because I can only imagine. So
that's very, very cool. That's very cool. So, second year back, will the plane be on static as well, or do you know, or you're going to have?
From what I heard today, we might not.
Okay.
There was a plan for them to have one. Our operations are still trying to figure out tail availability right now for us. So it's right now planned, but we'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, and just the fact that the jet set, we got a big packed air show out at this thing. We've even got a brand new element where they're going to have these RC controlled aircraft fly an air show. So from RC controlled on up to piston powered airplanes, warbirds, mini jets. Tom Larkin has mini jet, my little jet, your big jet. We got some cool stuff happening out at the Moses Lake Airshow. It's such a great environment to fly in. Everything the show has done to put together the VIP parking, the VIP ticket options. Look at that. There's Shannon.
Hi,
I can't pronounce. Oh man, it's good to have friends. None of my friends come on. They go, they go, I just can't stand Dave when he's live in front of me, let alone live.
That's not true.
Not true. But this is why we do this, to give people kind of a background view of what goes on at the air shows. Your gratitude for the people that come out and the gratitude of the people that put up with what we do says a lot, and it's very aviator-ish, right? We're all grateful to be here. And to see this next generation of pilots coming up, flying cool stuff, doing cool things. I mean, that's what we're here to do, is to give back. And hopefully that 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid is soon going to be that 15-year-old kid that has to start making decisions, better start doing decent in school, right? And you mentioned the ROTC, and I think a lot of people kind of skim over that. Would you mind in just a couple minutes, maybe telling how would a college student? I mean, it's a benefit to you with your tuition. I assume it used to be, right? And it's also that into the military. Could you explain how somebody would get into that?
Yeah, so there are ROTC scholarships. I was actually not on one, so I didn't get any extra. But other people have the opportunity to do that. But really, when I was looking at schools, I looked for Air Force ROTC. There's ROTC for pretty much every branch that we have. And so you just find the one kind of career field that you want to do. So I knew I wanted to do the Air Force. And even if you don't know, you can still sign up and do one. But I looked at schools specifically for Air Force ROTC because I knew that I wanted to go fly for the Air Force, and just kind of led that path. So it's 4 years. They have a new program where you can start after 2 years, which is awesome. In case you see all your friends doing it and see how cool it is, because it is. But then you get a commission after that. So you do have to wear a uniform a couple times a week, which I never wanted to do in high school, so I never did JROTC or anything, but I did it in college, and obviously it got me here, so can't complain.
Very cool. Yeah, there's always a way to do it. I mean, whatever it is you want to do in life, find the people already doing it, stand in the middle of them, and just be a part of it, right? I mean, it's not much more complicated half the time. And that's really what I keep talking to anybody that wants to be in aviation. I mean, this is an aviation show. Mike is proud of it.
That's my dad.
Oh, there you go. Hey, you know what? Hey, that's great. I'm out here visiting my daughters, right? Dads and daughters. That's freaking awesome.
Thankfully, my family has been able to come out to see a couple shows. They didn't do the Moses Lake one, but they did see me flying, which was an amazing thing to get to show them. So they only hear me talk too much about airplanes. So.
Well, and I'm sure if your dad's anything like me, he was probably sobbing during of course, not in public.
Of course not.
Anything either one of my daughters do, I end up tearing up, and then I got to go, and I'm a biker guy with tattoos all over him, big.
I think that's what makes this weekend a little more special, that we're doing the air show. So I won't be able to be with my dad for Father's Day, but I'm at least flying, and we'll fly for him and all the other dads out there that day. So
very cool.
Be cool.
Very cool.
There's me.
There you go. Look at that with the Moses Lake hat on. We love it.
No, Moses Lake was a lot of fun this year. We were supposed to drop the Wings of Blue to start, but I don't know if they're showing up this time. But we are, I think, doing an air refueling demo, which we didn't do last year with the KC-135. So that'll be a really cool addition.
That's cool. So, and for those of you, air refueling, you probably, most people know it, but you're going to put two big jets in close proximity of each other. So it's one thing if you're refueling a little F-16 off the back of something, but to put two big airplanes in that bubble of airspace, I'm sure it can be interesting at times.
Sometimes, yes.
Yes, I like it.
But,
spoken as an aviator. Very good.
It all depends. It always depends.
It all depends. Exactly right. Well, great. Captain Lucas, thank you so much. You're in uniform. I have to call you Captain. So I'm going to call you by your rank when you're in uniform. So thank you so much for coming on board, ladies and gentlemen. Come on out, meet Captain Lucas, meet the rest of the crew, meet all of us that are out there performing. We do this for you. We do Moses Lake Live for you. Please use the code Father's Day. Get 10% off your tickets, even the VIP tickets. And it's just a couple of weeks, and we'll be out there. So I'll look forward to meeting you in the pilot brief, and say hi again. And let's do it. Let's go have some fun at Moses Lake.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dave. Looking forward to seeing you guys.
Thanks, Captain Lucas. All right.